It will take 20 seconds. I'm gonna turn up my mic right now.
Are we good? All right, everybody. It looks like we are now live. Thanks so much for joining. This is Unstoppable.
All right, everybody.
This is Unstoppable Domains.
It looks like we are now live.
This is Unstoppable Domains' first live AMA. So thanks so much for joining. I'm going to, so I see there's a live chat, so I'm going to be answering some questions from the live chat, but I'm also going to be answering some that we have gotten before. So let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so can you explain the difference between Unstoppable Domains and Handshake? So I'm not an expert on Handshake, but I'm going to try. So far as I understand, the biggest differences are that Handshake is building its own blockchain, specifically for domain names. They have their own token, and I'm not 100% clear on this, but I believe the way it works is that you need to use their token. So I'm not sure if they are cryptocurrency agnostic. And then the other thing is that it seems as if their system is more designed around allowing other people to create their own domain extensions rather than creating one domain extension, rather than being a registry like what we are. They have a system where any company can become their own registry, have their own dot whatever. So that's a bit different. It's more similar to something that was tried in the traditional domain name world. But I'm not 100% clear on all the differences. So far as I know, they're not quite live yet, so we may need to wait until it's a little bit closer before we have a little bit more context on that. All right. So what stops authorities to block browser extensions to censor in the end the domains? So this is a question from Petite Crypto. So this is a good question. Nothing stops law enforcement from doing anything to companies. The blockchain does not alter the way that policing works around the world. So if you're a company and you have a browser extension and you're doing something illegal, you would, of course, be exposing yourself to risk, and you may need to not resolve certain websites or whatever in order to abide by the law of your land. What we think is going to happen, though, is that there will be enough open source browsers, open source plugins, and things like that, that for people who are legitimately getting blocked from seeing things, political speech or whatever else that they want or need to access, that there will be open source tools to serve that need. So that ultimately, even if some companies say they're afraid of certain types of content or don't want to show certain types of content, that if there really is a demand for it, that there will be open source tools to satisfy that demand. So that's kind of how we expect it will play out. Okay. So the next question is, are you all planning to add other extensions besides .zil once .zil is working? Yes, we do have a plan to build another domain extension in the future. It will most likely be in 2020. When can I claim my name, and can I use Ledger for this? This is from Biarritz. So when can I claim my name? You will be able to do claims on September 15th. The reason why there is a delay is because of an issue that we had with the Zilliqa blockchain. So for those of you who aren't fully aware of what happened, we launched our system on July 9th on the blockchain, and we started doing claims and started doing transactions. We essentially found a bug, an error with the way that nodes were reading smart contracts on a sharded blockchain on Zilliqa. So it was Zilliqa launched, I believe, on June 10th. They were the first sharded blockchain. We were the first major application to launch on a sharded blockchain. So as a result of that, we were the ones that essentially discovered this error. And they're now working to update their system, and that will be complete on September 15th. Once that upgrade is complete, we will be back to claiming, and we believe that we'll have the capacity, the transaction capacity and transaction speed that we were expecting all along. So we are optimistic, but unfortunately, we do need to wait until that update has been made. So next question is can I, sorry. This is a question from Satoshi. Thanks, Satoshi. Are hardware wallets participating in the integration grant? We would definitely work with hardware wallets. We are talking to hardware wallets about wallet integrations. And for hardware wallets, there's kind of two different things that you could do potentially with .zil domains. So one thing is that you can be the storage device for them. You can allow users to store their domains on the device itself. So this is like the type of thing that we would love to do with like a Ledger or a Trezor or something like that. And we're in the process of having those conversations. The other thing that we could do is that we could have domain resolution work. So like, for example, in like a Ledger Live or something like that, you could go in and send currency to a domain. So two different types of integrations, two slightly different processes. We're working on both with hardware wallets. We think that's a really important part of the infrastructure. Tons of people use hardware wallets. Wouldn't it be great if you could store your domains on those? Have you contacted browsers to implement .zil? We have had conversations with browsers. However, we are slightly less focused on browsers right now than we are Chrome extensions because there's just so many more users on Chrome. And there's already a wide ecosystem of Chrome extensions, wallet Chrome extensions for us to integrate with for payments already. So that just seems like the way to get the most users. Will we integrate directly with browsers, especially crypto browsers? Absolutely. That'll show a really cool user experience to our users. So definitely, but probably not the next thing we do. Probably not the first thing we do regarding websites. When will the listing service go live? So the listing service is in the same state as the claims and as really everything else is related to the .zil system. And the reason why is because the listing service is an on-chain feature. The auction is also an on-chain feature. So the domain management, adding cryptocurrency addresses to your domain, is an on-chain feature. Everything is an on-chain feature, which means that everything is impacted by this limitation currently on the Zilliqa network, and everything will be enabled as soon as we have that upgrade. So we will release listing service soon after the upgrade is made. We are already working on the tech. The same is true for auction, and the same is true for domain management. It should all happen pretty much all at once. The only thing that we won't do immediately after September 15th will be an auction, because we'll need a little bit of time to prep and communicate and let everybody know about what's happening there. But all of the rest of it will be enabled essentially immediately after the September 15th upgrade. What will be the hosting service costs range from, and will we pay a one-time fee, or will it be renewed monthly, yearly? This is from Diary. So the way it works is there's not an exact cost that has been determined yet. But the idea is that it would be a optional subscription, and it would be like a monthly or a yearly cost for hosting your website. Pretty similar to the way that you see hosting services today. Will we be able to pay with credit cards at the auction? Most likely no, because it's an on-chain auction. Which means that it would require the currency of the network. So most likely it will be with Zilliqa, although we are investigating ways to do payments for other parts. Okay, are there any top exchanges that are integrating Unstoppable Domains? So there's a couple of things with exchanges. So there's a couple of different ways, kind of like with the hardware wallets, a couple of different ways that we could potentially work together. So one way that we could work together is that an exchange can be a storage service for domains. And one of the things that we found is that companies who, especially larger companies who have domains, don't want to do self-custody. So we are working with exchange partners to enable a service, a simple service for these types of companies to be able to store their domain in a licensed exchange, similar to what a lot of people who don't want to custody their own cryptocurrency assets store them in with licensed custodians. So same kind of thing with blockchain domains. So that's one approach. The other approach is to make the exchange also support domain resolution. And this is something we're working on as well. And we're actually working closely with the Zilliqa Foundation on getting our software into core Zilliqa SDKs, which are tools that exchanges already use and already support as they support Zilliqa. And most of the major exchanges have already done that integration with Zilliqa itself. So that's kind of a cool backdoor way for us to get in with a lot of them, but we're also having active conversations with a lot of the big names that you're probably familiar with. All right. So this is a question about websites. So besides text-based websites, what else can be done? So the way I would think about the whole uncensorable website space in general is that it's going to start out with, because the tools are so new and so raw, it's going to start out with the most raw and simple version as possible. That way the websites will have okay performance. So it's going to start out with text-based websites because those are the simplest and easiest to serve up. Then it'll move to some pictures, and then it'll move to maybe a little bit of video, and then it'll move to some basic e-commerce functions. And eventually, over time, we'll get to the place where we can start doing anything that we can do on the regular internet on these systems. But that's going to be a long-term kind of phased approach as these tools get better and better. And I think that process will take years. But as we're thinking about how to get this going, we're mostly focused on this very simple text-based, kind of like blog, as the starting point. And then the next phase after that would be something around, really simple e-commerce. So the goal is enable everything, but the reality is today, it's going to start with simple text-based websites. Okay, so now looks like we are getting questions live in the chat. Thanks everybody for participating. Thanks for adding your questions. Okay, so we've got one from Francisco about, can the domains be used? The domains will be able to be used for payments most immediately, meaning that you can, instead of typing in a long address, you can type in someone's domain and you could pay them in Bitcoin or Ethereum or pretty much any major currency that's supported. So this will be enabled on September 15th. As mentioned, all features are limited by this current Zilliqa upgrade. Can you quickly explain a blockchain domain? Yes. A blockchain domain is an asset on a blockchain. It's sort of similar to an NFT, like a CryptoKitty. It sits inside of your wallet, controlled by you with your private key. It's a bit different than a regular domain because it can be used as your cryptocurrency payment gateway. It can be used for payments, where you attach all of your cryptocurrency addresses to this one domain. I can type it in on almost any wallet, any type of cryptocurrency wallet, and be able to pay you in almost any type of cryptocurrency. And the second use case is that they can be used to build uncensorable websites. And the way this works is that if you store content on a decentralized storage network like IPFS, and you have a domain that no one can take away from you, the combination of those two things means that you have a website that only you can put up and only you can take down. So this is these are the two features: payments and uncensorable websites. There are some other unique things about a blockchain domain as well, like They can be transferred freely anywhere in the world. There's no need for an escrow agent. There's no renewals. There are some other unique features as well, but payments and uncensorable websites are the two biggest. So what is the next user feature on the roadmap? So after the delivery of listing service and auction, the next thing is going to be websites, uncensorable websites. So that's the plan. So it's Nash. What happens to our domain if UD disappears? I love this question. Nothing happens to your domain. The domain is an asset on the blockchain, controlled by you with your private key in your wallet. It does not matter whether Unstoppable Domains exists or not once you have your domain. That's the beauty of this system, and that's part of the reason why a blockchain domain is ultimately going to be the tool that everyone uses for the internet, as opposed to regular domains, because this is not true for regular domains. So right now, what you'll be relying on us for is software tools to make it easy for you to interact with your domain. You know, with a couple of clicks, I can add a cryptocurrency address or two. So if we were to go away, some of that stuff might become temporarily harder, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it yourself, that you can't interact with the blockchain yourself, with other software tools arising to meet the need. And all along, your domain doesn't go away. It's still controlled by you. So that's what makes this system kind of future-proof. Does UD support DNS? So what we're building is essentially a different version of DNS. So it does not support traditional DNS. This is not part of the regular ICANN internet. These are what are called alternate routes. .zil is an alternate route, an alternate system to use. So how can I do a text-based website? This is a feature we're going to be launching soon to make this easy, which will be like a very simple web builder, where you'll be able to, with just a few clicks, put up some text, associate it with your domain, push the content onto a decentralized storage network, and then you'll have a website that you can with a blockchain domain that you can share with folks and have them go and visit it. Insiders Crypto, what currencies will be supported on September 15th? So it's a bit based on, so the way that currencies work, there's two things. First is that inside of our UI, we'll make it easy for you to add at least 10 different currencies to your domain, probably more. So you'll be able to add those addresses to your domain, which means that anybody will be able to look up the blockchain and find those addresses. Now, which wallets you can use to send from a wallet is based on our integration process. So we have several integrations that are in process right now. The currencies that are supported in those integrations are a lot of the ones that you would expect: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Stellar, Zilliqa, several others. Which ones will be live on September 5th, will be completed and live on September 15th versus which ones might be a little bit after? That's a question I don't have a clear answer to, because there's a lot of people that are in process, but we should be announcing some completed integrations very soon. I think in the next couple of weeks, even, because there's a lot of action happening behind the scenes on the integrations front. Where can we set up a web page to our name.zil on the blockchain? This is going to be something you'll be able to do inside of our application. At unstoppabledomains.com, you'll be able to you'll interact with a very simple web builder, and you'll be able to launch a website. Cryptomania, will you ever create a token? No. We think they're unnecessary. We don't understand why a business like ours would need a token. Not only that, we think that our system is actually much easier without a token. So we believe that systems should be as cryptocurrency agnostic as possible, which means that you should be able to pay us in any currency. So we accept Bitcoin. Right now we accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, USDC, maybe a couple of others, as well as Stripe credit card. And our goal is to support as many currencies, fiat and crypto, as possible. We would never want to restrict our community to only paying us in our token and Unstoppable token or something like that. We just want to make it as easy as possible for people to get names and then for people to use names for any currency. So we just think that that sort of thing makes it harder for users, and it's not necessary. So what partnerships are you working on creating right now? So there are several, so we've announced several partners. There are also several other partners that we are already working with that we'll be announcing once the product of our integration is live. But let me talk about just a few categories, because I think categories might be interesting for people. So one category are the wallets, which you probably heard the most about. We have a wallet grant program where we're making it easy for people to be able to, where we essentially cover the integration costs. So we have our domain resolution, library, and API. We want to make it as easy as possible for wallets to be able to provide domain resolution to their customers. And we're also covering integration costs for them. So wallets are one category. Exchanges are another category, and that involves having exchanges store blockchain domains on behalf of our customers, as well as them doing domain resolution and even some more advanced features. So that's another category of partner. Another category of partner that's interesting is our trademark representatives. So there are companies in the traditional domain name world that work with trademark partners doing brand protection. And a lot of brands have demonstrated interest in .zil domains from the perspective of wanting to protect their brand in this new domain world, but also having an opportunity to play around with a blockchain asset for the first time. As you may see, a lot of major corporations, everyone has a blockchain lab or a blockchain initiative or something like that. Well, blockchain domains are a really cool opportunity for companies to play around. It's an international payment system that they could potentially look at. It's also an opportunity for doing marketing around some sort of a crypto initiative. There's kind of a lot of different ways they could try it out. So the trademark category is trademark brand protection companies are another category of partners that we're going out and working with. Those are probably the biggest group to call out. So this is a question from Pradeep. Blockchain domains are new assets on public blockchains, and any public blockchain can offer a new extension. Then why should we get domains from UD? So I think this is true. I don't really know that each blockchain having their own domain system is going to wind up being as relevant. If you think about the way that we're approaching it, we are offering a system that is cryptocurrency agnostic. And because it's cryptocurrency agnostic, it means that we could go around and integrate wallets with 20 different smart contract platforms, 30 different smart contract platforms that recently launched or are recently launching, and they could all use a .zil domain for payments. And if all 30 of those are using a .zil domain, plus the wallets that are using that are already, Bitcoin and Ethereum wallets are using .zil domains, then you're not really going to need another system. In fact, each blockchain having their own system is kind of the problem. That's kind of like what hasn't worked so far, So, there's been an attempt in a lot of different blockchain communities. There's been an attempt in EOS. There's been an attempt in Bitcoin Cash. There's been an attempt with Neo, I believe. There are various other blockchain naming systems that have been attempted by each blockchain, but that's kind of not what the market needs. What the market needs is something that connects them all together. And so if you have a system that successfully connects them all together, then the systems that are all these kind of like isolated little islands of all these different blockchains are really not as relevant or not as important. So part of what we were trying to solve here when we set out to do this company was to make something that really was cryptocurrency agnostic, that was universal, that could be used by any cryptocurrency wallet in the ecosystem. So I think it's just sort of a different thing we're trying to make. And as a result of that, it started with being cryptocurrency agnostic, and it really winds up kind of making this blockchain agnostic. Yes, we chose a blockchain. We chose one specific blockchain to build our smart contract on, but you have to pick one. We don't really think that that users are going to want dozens of these that work for each separate cryptocurrency. We think they're going to want one that works for all cryptocurrencies. So long answer, but have you been getting acceptance from trademark brands? This is from Kids Play. Yeah. So the response has actually been pretty strong. We've had several Fortune 500 companies claim domains, and we'll be having some more. There'll be kind of more content and more updates around this as soon as we are able to share more details, which we're working on. Is the grant program a success? So V1 of the grant program was a huge success. We've got several projects that are integrating right now. We've also got a lot of interest for Wave 2. We have several great candidates. We are narrowing them down right now, and we should be announcing those pretty soon. We would also love more support and more engagement from the community. If there's more, if you want to reach out to wallets that you think are a good fit and let them know about it, please do. We would love to talk to more folks. So one more question about the web builder. So when will the web builder come out? We're currently targeting end of the year, so we expect sometime around December, January right now. That's our current target. How do other patents from other tech companies impact Unstoppable Domains? So yes, there was some big news in the blockchain domain world. There was an IBM patent application as well as an Alibaba one. So in general, I would say that this is good for us. This is a sign that big companies are taking this technology seriously, and that's going to be extremely, extremely good for this ecosystem. There are lots of different ways to build these systems, so no, we don't see any issues with our ability to run our business. We see this as validation. Big companies taking this market seriously, so very exciting. Derek Smith, will UD ever create its own application-specific blockchain? This is a really good question. So we do not have any specific plans to do this. Currently, right now, we think that having an application-specific blockchain is kind of inferior security. Public blockchains are essentially better, safer, more secure. Who knows? It's possible that the technology will take some turns that we don't expect. And I think from maybe the most important thing to communicate here is that we are extremely non-ideological about our technical decisions. So we are trying to find whatever tools and methods that we think are going to build the best system for users. We're not going to get too in the weeds about and have philosophical arguments around these things. So we are open to it. That's what I would say, but no specific plans now. Did Nike claim their trademark? This is from RM. So we can't comment on any specific customers or specific transactions, but at some point in the near future, I think there will be some ability to see which domains were claimed at least. So that would give some indications. All right. So it's looking like we are slowing down here a little bit. Let's see. Let's see what else we have here. We got a question about deadlines, which I want to answer because I think that's a decent one. Since UD hasn't been able to keep deadlines, will you offer refunds? We currently offer refunds. So if that's a if that's a thing, that wouldn't change. That's a policy we already have. Unfortunately, these are at least in this case, it was not really about our deadline. So we went live. We have a system that actually works on the blockchain. Now we need the blockchain to be able to handle our transaction volume. So we're confident that we're going to be able to deliver as soon as the blockchain can handle what we're doing. And there's also questions around, why not switch to a different blockchain? For the same reasons that we decided to work on the Zilliqa blockchain initially, all of those same reasons are true now. There are a lot of advantages of using the Zilliqa blockchain versus something else. One of them is the fact that the capacity of transactions is very high and that fees are very low. So no matter what, this system will have a different set of features than if we were to launch it and have, sort of different abilities than if we were to launch on a different blockchain. And I think our ultimate answer is that we will launch on another blockchain eventually, and there will be choice. But we're excited about both, and we think that it's good to have this choice. All right. I think we are winding down here. Let me see if I can find any last ones. So we have a question. How many people have bought a domain? So I believe the number it's somewhere greater than 80,000, somewhere between 80 and 85,000 domains sold at this point. And now we have a question around our investors. So does having BoostVC or Draper Associates help you in other ways, in ways other than money? And will you have more funding in the future? So yes, a good investor absolutely helps you more than money. I would say that BoostVC has been extremely helpful for us. They were early believers in what we were doing. They connected us with early partners. They have been huge advocates, and they have a huge network. They have a huge network of crypto companies and so on. So that's also that network and Boost was how we wound up meeting Tim Draper and Draper Associates. So just one example of the network. That's how that connection happened. And now with Draper, I think that the value for us beyond money is on one level philosophical alignment. So Tim Draper is somebody who believes strongly in free speech, speaks about it all the time, speaks about all over the world, and is he's essentially the perfect the perfect messenger for something like what we're doing to the non-crypto community. So that's a huge huge advantage and benefit and resource. And he's been an advocate, and I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of different types of promotions and things like that. In terms of future money, we don't have any specific plans, but assuming things continue to go well, then yes, we would raise more money in order to keep scaling out the business. So this is a question around decentralized storage. So compared to IPFS, is there another decentralized storage product who could host dynamic websites, and have we explored them as an alternative to IPFS? So yes, absolutely. And actually the way that we intend for our implementation to work is that it will actually allow you to store content on more than one decentralized storage network at once. So you won't even need to just rely on multiple nodes inside of something like IPFS. You'll actually be able to rely on multiple nodes on one decentralized storage network and multiple nodes on multiple storage networks. So you get this added layer of security even on top of that. So there's a couple of potential options there. SIA network is one that we have looked at. BitTorrent actually is another that we've looked at, and we're also very open. Arweave has been part of the discussion as well. So there'll be some more details on exactly how the implementation will work, but the idea is multiple networks. Do you have any competitors? So I would say that, so as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of different blockchain specific systems that have been built, meaning blockchains or somebody very close to a specific blockchain building a system meant for that immediate community. So we've seen that a lot. And for the most part, it means that that system will live on that blockchain and will work for cryptocurrency payments really just for that blockchain. And when you do it like that, you don't wind up ever enabling a system that winds up being a universal payment gateway. So if you think about it from the user's perspective, like, what do you really want? Like, you want one domain where you can receive your Bitcoin and your Ethereum and your Litecoin and like maybe your Stellar, maybe your Solana, maybe there's all these different blockchains out there. Why not just have it all go to one domain? Wouldn't that be easier? So that's the idea. So how will our company generate revenue once fully launched? So we have two things. One is that we sell domains, but that's just a one-time fee, so that's not really sustainable as a business. And so our strategy is going to be to provide a hosting service, which will be an optional service, but it'll be a subscription. So that's the idea, is that to host a website will make that very easy. But yes. Will you be able to host ads on our websites, like with Adsense, for example, or will it support things like Google Analytics? And so the answer here is most existing tools that exist on the internet today will not by default work with blockchain domains as we're building. And the reason why is, the best way to think about this is a completely alternate internet. Not only are we taking it back to 1995 internet, very basic tools, we are literally saying the internet over here, the internet that we use today is great, but it's centralized, it's censored, it's dangerous, and we just need to completely start over from scratch over here. And that means that initially websites won't be indexed on Google. It means that initially you'll need Chrome plugins in order to access websites. It means that this is really kind of its own little walled garden. Sorry, I shouldn't say walled, because it's actually very open. Its own little garden initially. We expect that as these things start to work and as people start to get excited about them, then you'll start seeing more of the existing internet tools come in and start figuring out how to enable them. And you'll also see a completely new set of tools, which are blockchain first tools. And those blockchain first tools will be built with permissionless, open source, decentralized web technology as being their kind of core. So that core stack that we're starting to build, and that we imagine a lot of different companies will come in and start to build with us, that's going to be what we think will be the real kind of power for the future. It's really going to be new stuff. Like this is a really new industry. So question about selling domains. So if I sell domains, and sorry, I know the subjects are skipping around here a little bit. So if I sell my domains, do I still get first shot at the second extension? And so this is related to the system that we have where you get credits on our future domain extension for buying .zil in the early phases. And the answer is yes. It's based on whoever bought the .zil domains initially. You would get that amount of credits for a future domain extension. So now there's a question here around currencies. Will you be integrating Neo, Ontology, other platforms onto UD? And the answer is yes, we'll be integrating any and all things, any and all cryptocurrencies. And the way that we do that is that we integrate with wallets. So when we integrate with a wallet that supports X, Y, and Z currency, all of a sudden, at that point, blockchain domains support X, Y, and Z currency. If we don't happen to have that currency already in our application, visible in our application, so you can add your addresses, we'll add them. So the moment that we have a new currency supported by a wallet partner, we'll definitely add it into our UI. Adding it into our UI and allowing you to write a cryptocurrency address to the blockchain is really simple. That's really easy. So we'll definitely support any and all of that. We're not necessarily going to support every one of them in our UI until we also have wallets, because just writing the address to the blockchain is not as valuable as actually having wallets where you can send. So that's the only reason why you don't see hundreds and hundreds in our application yet. That's because we're still going live with integrations. All right. So I think that's about it. It looks like we are wrapping up here. I wanted to let everybody know I really appreciate. Actually, one last question that I see here because I like it. So I'm gonna pick it out before we go. So this is from Francisco. So will this be a paradise for dark markets, porn, illegal activities as well, and who and what will control it? So I think the first thing to point out here is that there is no one person that will control this system and determine what people can and can't see. Because it's on the blockchain, anybody will be able to write anything they want to the blockchain, and theoretically, anybody will be able to go and read that information off the blockchain as well. So that's the first thing to keep in mind, and that's critical for the security of the system. But on the flip side, we as a business and the commercial internet will not be able to and will not want to resolve illegal and horrible content, because that will get them in trouble. So what will ultimately wind up happening is that browsers will have different views. They'll have different views on what's okay and what's appropriate. And there will also always be browsers that are more open source and take no opinion on what kind of content can be resolved or can't be resolved. So the idea is that you'll be able to live comfortably with an internet that is not overloaded, with a browser experience that is not overloaded with illegal and horrible content and all this sort of stuff. But if there's something that you really need to see or really want to see, and there's huge demand for it, and browsers aren't serving that demand, then you would very easily start seeing open source tools and other things like that that would enable it. So it's kind of like you always have this protection because your browser chooses your internet, yes, but you choose your browser, and that winds up kind of being this balance. But it also means that there's not going to be there's not going to be kind of one version that everyone sees, which is sort of how it goes now. There will be a lot more versions. So that's a long answer, but that's kind of the idea. All right. So I think that's it. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate everybody listening in on a Saturday. So thanks a lot. This was our first live AMA. I hope it was I hope it was enjoyable for everybody, and thanks a lot. We'll be in Telegram for any more questions.